Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to the Spiritual Roundtable. It is my weekly afternoon show right here on Facebook. And I just got to change something here. I got to change my speaker. I forgot my mic. Okay, so welcome, everybody. This is Wednesday, March 18th. I know I had to stop for a minute. Everything is happening so fast, I kind of forget what day it is, the date. So, welcome to the Spiritual Roundtable. This is the weekly afternoon show that is all around the card draw that I do in the morning, which sparks a spiritual conversation. And so, welcome everybody. Everybody that's in the live chat, thank you so much for being here with me. And that those that are be watching through the recorded show, thank you for making time for us in your very busy day to watch. Before we get rolling, I promised a couple people that I would send the show over to them via messenger, and so that way they remember. Because we start getting busy, and then we tend to, sometimes time gets away on us, and we forget, right? And so I'm just going to send it out to a couple people that asked me to do that for them. And just a couple people here. There, I think that does it. There we go. There. We're done. Oh, I was going to send it over to my news feed. So, hang on. Just going to ask them to please join us. There we go. And see, I miss Rob. I used to produce all my own shows. And now that he's not producing, I have to do this myself. I forget. I'm just going to send it over to the peeps. And so that they can join us too. There we go. And we'll send it over to the live stream show group and also the Academy group. There we go. There. That'll do. Yay. So good to have you guys here with me. Let's see who's here. Okay. Andrew's here. Andrew, I was sharing with my husband about last night's show because he was busy with George. He wasn't able to join us. And so I was telling him about the creative fire, and that you're a cook, and I said he had such good stuff, and you did. Thank you so much for sharing last night. It was really, really good. Hey, and Barb's here. Barbara, you're here. Rochelle's here. Hello, Rochelle. Thank you so much, Rochelle, for doing that. I appreciate it. Lisa's here too. She goes, what a beautiful day. Snow is a blanket of peace. It's snowing down by you? Really? We don't have that. It's cloudy, but we don't have snow. Yeah. And this is Stephanie. She says, yep, time does get away. That's right. It does. It really, really does. There was something else I was going to do. Oh, yeah. To try to remember these things. Like I said, you kind of forget certain things when you don't do the producing part. And so it has to remind myself. All right. So for those who might not know, we're still using this particular book, cards, The Sacred Spirit Reading Cards by Anna Sark. And I haven't gotten the nudge to change decks yet, so we're going to keep going with it. And Anna Sark is out of Australia, and so is the illustrator Lewis Dyer. They're both out of Australia. And so their perspective, right, on the card information comes from, of course, their filter, their lenses out of Australia. So it's always kind of interesting how they perceive things and how we can bring it in and put our spin on it then too, right? Yeah. I just love the artwork in these cards too. Did you see that the cover and book? This is one of the cards as well, right? And this is the back. Look at that tree. It almost looks like the Northern Lights too in the background, doesn't it? Your artwork is fabulous in this book. Fabulous. I kind of figured it was you, Stephanie. Yep, I'm back now as me. Yay. Yay. All right. Um, just a couple of housekeeping stuff before we get started with the cards, okay? Is that I'm doing a check-in with all of you. Even if you're watching this by the recorded show, please drop in your comment, okay? I'm just doing a check-in. I was doing this earlier today. I actually did an impromptu video chat with my sisters because I really felt the need to be able to connect with them in a personal way, right? To be able to actually have a face-to-face dialogue with them, just to check in with them because it's an interesting energy that is flowing this week, isn't it? At times, I can feel the chaos and I can feel the panic and I can feel the fear. And then other times, it's kind of like a stillness, you know? Yeah. And what I was sharing with my sisters this morning was that here in our house, um, life isn't all that different because my work through Star Nations is done through the internet, through live streams and online classes. And so my work doesn't really change all that much. Even with the magazine, our magazine, the primary delivery system for the magazine is digital, right? And so, I've been in that world for what, 6 years now, something like that. And with having my mom here, I'm home a lot because, she needs me here. And so, not that we're quarantined, but our movement isn't that far flung from home. And so, my life really hasn't changed all that much. Now, Paul's life, which comes in when he comes home from work or he goes to work, and Georgie's life has been different because Georgie's puppy daycare closed yesterday at 6 for at least 2 weeks, maybe longer. And then Paul is the one who is doing the grocery getting and the errands and that kind of thing. So he's kind of out there, feeling the energy and telling me about it, right? And so, but I just want to do a little bit of a check-in to see how you guys are doing. And as a reminder, as Rochelle would normally remind us about our grounding, reminding each other to do our grounding, doing our centering, do your protection, get your shields up, especially if you're an empath. We are sorely needed right now. Really, it's not the time to hibernate or to sequester yourself. Really, it's at the complete opposite. Really, it's to be able to help transmute all of that energy that's flowing around. That we can, because we feel it, right? We can identify it. And it's not to take it on and to have it take up residence with you. No, not at all. That is to take it and to transmute it, send it down to Grandmother Earth. And she will lovingly take care of it for us. But because you feel it and you sense it before almost anybody else does, you can actually, the word mitigate keeps coming up, mitigate. And so, make sure you're grounded though. Make sure you're centered. Don't take it on if you're not, if you're having a hard day, then don't do it. But if you are in a position to assist, that's what we came here for, right? And many of us have been training and practicing and for decades. And now here we are, right? And here we are. We can actually shine our light. So just checking in, making sure you guys, if you haven't done your grounding, please take a moment to do that right now as we're chatting, and then we'll get into the cards, okay? All right. And as you're doing that, I'm going to check in with you guys in the chat. And let's see. Rochelle says, how's my mom? Mom is actually doing pretty well. Her health really isn't all that different. It's kind of like status quo. It's not better because I don't think it's ever going to get better, but it's not worse, which is good. And And she's really into the politics, always has been. So she's been kind of really keeping up with that and letting me know what things are going on. And now with the virus, she's really tracking that and um, listening to all the news feeds coming in, right? Yeah, yeah. And and on her own, we were talking about it yesterday about how we individually can assist without having to be a first responder or working in the hospitals or anything like that. We can all have pitch in just a little bit, right? And so she says, there's not much I can do. I can pray. And she goes, and I can give tobacco. And so that's what she's doing today. This afternoon, she's doing her own tobacco giving ceremony. I asked her if she wanted help with it, that I would be there with her if she wanted me there. And she goes, no, I'm doing this on my own. I would appreciate if you take it outside for me, but no, I'm doing it on my own. And so she's doing that sometime before the end of this show, actually. And so anything, anything that you feel that you can contribute to it, right? Even if it's just calling somebody. There's a lot of elders out there that are finding it difficult to be at home. In fact, I know that there are some around here, drivers for Meals on Wheels. Most of them have children, and so their children are home, and so they're not able to do the delivery. And so our county was looking for volunteers to do the meal delivery. Now I haven't checked back to see if they've had enough people to volunteer, but yeah, so any little bit, right, that we can pitch in and help, just a little bit. Yeah. So thank you for asking, Rochelle. Mom's doing okay. She's doing all right. And the little bit that, like I said, our life here hasn't changed all that much. At least once a week, I've been doing this for a long time. In the diffuser, I'm using purification, Young Living Oils purification once a week. A couple of times a week, I'm doing thieves in the diffuser. And so yeah, so a lot of that hasn't changed. The person who comes in to help clean the house, she was here this morning, and we kind of talked a little bit about precautions, right? To be smart, but not feed into the panic. And so I always have purification, a few drops in a spritz bottle with water. And so what Susie did was she just sprayed herself down with the spritz bottle. We use it all over the house to begin with whenever she's cleaning. And then she washed her hands. Right. And so, and in fact, before she left the house, she used the same spritz bottle, sprayed herself down again before she got into her car. And she was going to use hand sanitizer in the car. And then she was going to go grab lunch. And then she was going to get ready for her next house. So, yeah. So it's those little things, right? It's those little things. And Lisa is saying, I made my presence at 3 grocery stores today, bringing peace, laughter to many. Yay! And really, really, thank you so much, Lisa. When we're grounded and we're centered and our protection's up and we can be there in our fullness, right? We, without even saying anything, we start shifting the energy in that space. It starts coming up the energy starts to come up to meet us, right? And the energy that can't do that because it's a low vibration, it will just go away. It'll move away. Like vibrations meet like vibrations, right? And so when we're out there, is to be friendly, to say hi, to have a smile on your face, that kind of stuff, right? It's enough to be able to shift the energy. You don't have to say a word. You just have to mind your own vibration, really. And that's huge. She's also saying dropped off care packages. See? And it makes us feel good too, doesn't it? Just to pitch in just a little bit. So, all right, here are the cards. We have 2 cards today. And I have to tell you that I did change up the question just a little bit. The question I usually ask my spiritual team is to show me the energy that's flowing today that's important for us to know about for our soul growth, right? That will help us to understand, maybe give us an aha moment or give us clarity to the experiences that we have right now that is around our soul growth. Today, I ask them to please show us the energy that's flowing today around the situation with the virus, and how we can expect this energy to affect us and how we can affect it, right? Um, and so these are the two cards that came, and I had to smile at this first one. The Ascended Masters. We get this card almost every week. The Ascended Masters. And if you take a look, right, look at all that energy swirling around across his forehead and third eye, over his crown chakra. The energy either coming or receiving or giving from his hand. The Ascended Masters. And let's see if I can get my camera to focus. There's an image in the background. Let's see if we can get it to focus. It almost looks like a person, a being in the background, doesn't it? Yeah. Ascended Masters. It's create open communication with others and to listen objectively. To listen objectively. Create open communication. Yeah. The Ascended Masters. Because all of us, every single one of us, has a spiritual team. And on that spiritual team is our angels, including our guardian angel. It's our ancestors, it's star beings, it's devas and elementals. It is our power animals and totems. All of those in the unseen that are here to help us, right? Assist us in our journey here as spirit in a physical body. And we all have ascended masters on our team as well. And so our ascended masters are basically tapping us on the shoulder and saying, open up the communication. We've got some things that we would like to share with you, right? Yeah. And it's up to us to ask them for help. And, we would be talking about this anyway, right? This is no different than any other Wednesday. The only difference is with this one, you might want to actually ask specific questions rather than saying, what is it that I need to know today? Right? Is to ask specific questions about if there's things going on in your life because of being affected by the closures and those kinds of things. Asking the Ascended Masters for assistance, helping you to understand it. How can you navigate this? Why ask the Ascended Masters? It's because they've actually had a physical life before. They know what it's like to walk on Earth, right? They're Ascended Masters because they mastered what they came to do here, and in their ascension, they got to take all of that wisdom with them. So they're no longer in a physical body, but they're still here to be able to assist. And here's the little caveat. You know how everything has a certain frequency within a vibrational range, right? You have, let's say you have at the vibration of love, right? The vibration of love. Within that vibration of love, you have different frequencies within that vibration. All right. Some of you might recognize it as the different rays of light, the 7 rays, right? But within that vibration of love, as an example, there's many different frequencies of love within it. And if you think of it in a continuum, you have a lower vibration, a lower frequency of love within that vibration, and then you also have the highest frequency in that vibration and everything in between, right? So when you're asking a very specific question like that, my suggestion is to ask the ascended masters that work with you in the highest frequency of their vibration to step forward to assist you. So you're working with the highest vibration, the highest aspect in that vibration, okay? So that you're working with the highest frequency. Does that make sense? Yeah, the highest frequency within that vibration. And we should be doing that anyway. But that is a suggestion, okay? Stephanie is saying, my dad wrote a really powerful letter to his colleagues at Chevron and his Knights of Columbus chapter. It made me cry so hard. It did. Was it a good cry? What did he, you don't have to give us all the details if you don't want to, obviously, but what's the gist? I mean, what was his intent? Because it obviously affected you, right? All right. So here's the information about the Ascended Masters from the author. She says, throughout time, human beings have looked to spiritual teachers, gurus, and philosophers for guidance and wisdom in their everyday lives. Regardless of religious background or affiliation, people gravitate toward those who have achieved levels of ascension on the physical plane. Philosophers and ascended masters, spiritual gurus, and leaders enable those seeking wisdom or higher states of well-being and consciousness to connect to something bigger than themselves in this dimensional experience. While there are many ascended masters across the realm of ascension, they are still on differing levels of ascension. These inner planes assist those seeking wisdom, connecting to specific energy, such as the light rays. When working with these frequencies or energies, be sure to always invoke or request the aspect that exists within 100% of pure light frequencies. Ascended masters still exist within a dual polarity and still have specific purposes and functions relating to their earthly realm. Right now, you're required to connect to higher wisdom previously shared with a collective purpose. For a collective purpose. Okay? So when you're connecting with your ascended masters on your spiritual team, it's being strongly suggested that we ask for the highest frequency of that vibration to work with us, to be with us, to assist us. Okay? All right. And she goes on to say that daily rituals and routine are essential to establish stability through decision-making processes. Open your mind and vision to signs and symbols from the ascended master realm. Many masters are associated with animals and symbols. Pay attention to art and imagery that you may feel emotionally or strongly connected to now as you're being guided divinely. Be consciously aware that the masters are working behind the scenes in your life to achieve a greater outcome. Karmic planning in your unique energetic blueprint requires certain learning experiences and events for you to grow and expand your soul and spirit into a new state of awareness. So when I read that and I sat with it, because we've gotten this card so many times, it's like, so what is it about this particular card and information today that makes it different than others? And the information I got back was it's not necessarily different. They've been trying to get our attention for some time, right? That's why it's repetitive. That's why it keeps coming up over and over and over again. that they have the ability to assist us to show us the options that we may have, right? To show us what could be the optimal path to take, what could be the best decision to make, right? And the reason why it's always qualified that way is because we still have free will. We can still choose to ignore them, although they hope that we don't. Right? We can still choose to ignore them. And we still have to discern for ourselves when we talk about discernment. Remember, we're talking about our connection and listening to our highest self, our soul self. That is the part of us that helps us to discern. And so the discernment is still our own. What they're doing is they're laying down in front of us information that we can choose to incorporate or not, right? And so in the question, how it was asked or posed to my spiritual team was to show us the energy that's flowing today that's around the situation of the virus and how they can help us, right? How they can help us. And so the ascended masters are basically saying to us, call on us, ask us, talk to the highest frequency. Because I'm going to say something right now that could be a little, some people may not take it as well as I hope. Okay, so here it goes. There's many, many people out there that are saying that we need to kill this virus. I'm going to say the word kill again. And every time I read it or hear it, I kind of go, oh, okay, this virus is still a relative. It doesn't matter how it came to be, it has a life form. And what is it here to teach us? Right? What is it here to teach us? There is no mistake, there's no coincidence. It's not being done to us, it's being done for us. And so how can we learn from this? What are we supposed to learn from this? This is the question you can ask your ascended masters. What am I supposed to learn from this? What's the best path to take to learn what I'm here to learn with this? Right? It's more important, I believe, that we treat it as a relative. Because everything has a cycle. Everything has a life cycle, including this virus. So eventually it will live out its life cycle, whatever that is. When what it came here to do is done, it will be done. Right? And then move on to the next experience, whatever that is for that being. And here's that I think that's the hardest part as two-leggeds is where is your compassion? Right? Sometimes it's hard to have compassion when you have a being that is indiscriminate in how it affects other people, right? You know, and I think that that's part of our growth. It's a part of our growth. You know, I look at how things are playing out for those people in Italy, and I have all kinds of empathy and compassion for them. And yet the virus is here to show us something, to teach us something. And if we can just help humanity learn the lesson by learning it ourselves, right? And then it becomes exponential. So that's what we can pull in from the ascended masters. You know, yes, it's important for us to do our grounding. Yes, it's important to do your centering and your protection. Very important. And the next piece is How do you apply what you already know? Right? And this is it. This is it. This is talking to your spiritual team. Yeah. And minding your own vibration, right? Minding your own vibration. And see where that takes you. Now with this card, there's a piece of the information that's here that I haven't shared before because it didn't feel necessary. But today it certainly does. There's a shadow aspect. And the shadow aspect is about refusing to be open to new experiences or to outcomes. When we're not recognizing or using or calling on the ascended masters because we don't want to change, we don't want to take in what's new, right? When we're in resistance, when we're in resistance, that is a shadow aspect. And it is one of our choices. We can choose that path. But when we do that, we're refusing to be open to new experiences or to outcomes. And isn't that what we're all being nudged through? Is what was once normal isn't normal? Your normal routine has been knocked off its rails, so to speak, right? And so if we're not open to new outcomes or a new way of being, then we're not in the flow. We're not in the flow. And the affirmation to this particular card is, I am a clear channel of divine knowledge. I share this wisdom with compassion and confidence. I'm going to say it again. I am a clear channel of divine knowledge. I share this wisdom with compassion and confidence. Right? So the ascended masters, the highest frequency for you to work with, that's who you call on because they're already on your team. May as well tap into them, right? Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to get caught up with you guys in the chat. Okay, hang on. Okay, here we go. Hey, Pauline's here. Hello, Pauline. Welcome to the show, Spiritual Roundtable. And I should probably put my name up, huh? That would probably be a good idea. There we go. I forget to do that. And Lisa's saying, that feels good. It does, doesn't it? It really does. There's a sense of empowerment with this. There's a sense of empowerment because in so many ways, there's some things happening out there that we don't have any control over, or it seems like we don't, right? Because, oh, really, how much control do we really have? Almost none about anything. And so to be in the flow of it, right? And to be open to possibilities, open to the changes, open to a new way of being. Because when there is going to be a conclusion to this at some point, right? It's almost like a bell curve. Do you remember that? You know, those bell curves, right? So we're at the zenith, or at the top, right? Or nearing the top. And eventually you'll start falling off, right? And eventually you'll be at the very bottom of that experience. And so the energy is near a zenith. And eventually it's going to start waning and starting to weaken, right? And so we have to ride that wave and draw on the positive aspects of it, right? When we hit the challenge, those road bumps, speed bumps, those are the life lessons. Those are the times that you can call in extra help. Talk to your spiritual team. Get your ascended masters in there, the highest frequency that you can work with. Okay? And remember to do your grounding. That's what they keep saying. Do the grounding. All right. Hey, Kimlesh. I hope I pronounced that right. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here. Stephanie is saying, when in doubt, draw on your values and our values. When this is all over, you don't want to look back and wish you had behaved differently. We're a global community. So be smart, be safe, and let's take care of one another. We are in this together. That's what your dad wrote? Oh my goodness. That's big. Is that a shift for him? Stephanie, is that a shift for him? Because it kind of feels like it. And what a great way to remind those around him, right? That we're in this together, that we're not separate. We're not. So thank you for sharing that with us, Stephanie. That's a good quote, right? It's a good quote. Hey, Angie's here. Hello, Angie. Good to have you here. It's how he closed it. I can see why you were moved to tears. I can see why. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I wish more people in industry had that same sentiment. Which, maybe it might happen that way too, right? Because there's all kinds of possibilities out there. All right, so here's the second card. Now, this is the reason why we need to be grounded. Okay. This is secret temptation. Secret temptation, being led astray, accept your choices. Seems like a lot of shadow self in this one, doesn't it? I mean, take a look. I mean, those piercing eyes, right? Those are some serious eyes there. And it looks like bird medicine on his shoulders. Very intense. Got a lot of golden yellow and orange reds in there. Very intense. Secret temptation, being led astray. Accept your choices. Yeah, accepting your choices. That's the part about being two-legged, right? In that free will, we have the freedom to choose. And with every choice, there's always a consequence. And that consequence can be positive or it can be negative, right? Or somewhere in between. Because I don't think it says black and white as that. With every choice, there's a consequence. And it's kind of like what Stephanie's dad wrote. Thank you for sharing that. It's like basically he was saying to his colleagues, where do you want to stand on this? Where do you want to end up? Right? There's a time when we, especially as an empath, because we feel all the emotions, don't we? Every single one of them, sometimes more than what we want to. But we feel the joy and we feel the happiness, but we also feel the sorrow and the hatred and the anger and the whole gamut we feel in the energy that's flowing around us. And so when we're talking about making a decision, it's a good place to make a decision is when you're in a balanced state, right? That's the optimum. When you have a balance between your mind and your heart, between your mental thoughts and your emotions, right? Between your egoic self and your soul self. When you're in balance, that's the best time. Best place to be when you're making decisions. When you're too much in your head and you're only making decisions only on logic, that doesn't work very well. Look where we're at, right? And then we don't make very good decisions when it's solely based in emotion either. We're meant to be in balance. That's what we're striving for. And so no matter what you choose or how you choose it, you're going to have a consequence. How did your dad put that, Stephanie? When this is all over, you don't want to look back and wish you had behaved differently. Right? Be smart, be safe, and let's take care of one another. That's being in a very balanced place. Yeah, good for him. Good for him. All right, so here's what the author has to say. She says, temptations can be everywhere, depending upon your vices, and unfortunately, there will always be a temptation to the human psyche. We can learn from these vices as they teach us about our emotional triggers prior to our actions. Self mastery is the key. Self mastery is the key. Risk taking should be avoided now with careful consideration of any planning of events, career changes, or major decisions. A lack of willpower may influence your impulses. Be strict with your budget as financial blowouts are of significance now. Right now, the truth is yet to be revealed. Be cautious in lending any goods you wish to have returned, as deception is around every corner. Be mindful of any agreements or contracts at this time and seek professional advice where appropriate. If you are in a relationship, you may feel that it is at risk of a third-party influence. So basically, Spirit is telling us to be in a balanced place. And how do we get there? By doing our grounding, right? By putting our protection up, having good boundaries, right? Because we're seeing it. We're seeing it out there. Not me, I don't, because I'm not out in the stores. But there's stories. Paul's come home with a few, and I just heard some this morning from my sisters. Is that there's people are reacting from their injuries, right? From their traumas, from a trauma inner child. And so some of the hoarding, some of the reacting from a place of scarcity, Yeah. So how do we navigate that in a good way? Right? Because we are two-legged. We all have a shadow self, right? So when that shadow part of us comes up, it's not to ignore it and it's going to go away. Is actually to say, okay, I see you. What's going on? What's happening now? And it's usually our inner child. And what wouldn't the inner child feel some fear around what's going on, right? I mean, think about if you have kids, how are they reacting to their school being closed, right? Yeah. So I believe Spirit is letting us know that when that injured part of us, that part of us that we haven't quite healed completely, or maybe we didn't even realize that we had healing around it to be done, is to take that into consideration and do your self-care, right? Continue your healing work, because this is going to bring up aspects of ourselves that maybe we thought we already handled, and maybe we did at a certain in a certain body, whether, because we have 4 bodies, maybe you healed in 3 of them but not the 4th one. And so here we are, you have an opportunity, it's come to the surface, and that's exactly what it is. It's an opportunity to heal. I know when we're right in the middle of it, sometimes it doesn't feel that way. It feels like a big pain, right? Oh no, not another one, not now, kind of thing. But if you weren't able to deal with it and have the tools and the connections, the resources to do it, it wouldn't have come to the surface. Your spiritual team would have been there to assist you so it wouldn't come to the surface. But if it's come to the surface, you have everything that you need to heal it, to learn from it, to learn the life lesson that you were meant to learn from it. Yep. And I think that's what this card is all about, is, there's going to be some temptations out there, and that temptation is really coming from that part of yourself that we call the shadow, right? It says that addictions such as gambling, drugs, sex, alcoholism, and even food are indicated through this card. Being tempted by devilish behavior is leading you down a bad path. This health card encourages you to regain control of your life, building willpower and determination, using a step-by-step approach for support and encouragement. Ultimately, the temptation to be bad or to let loose is having a negative effect on yourself and the people around you. If you're experiencing challenges with your personal habits at the moment, now is the time to develop structured and systematic coping strategies that you can learn and lean on when you're tempted to be led astray. However, you are a conscious creator, so be accountable for your past and current choices and seek to change them in the present and in the future. We also have to be responsible, right, for our own actions, our thoughts. It's about having all kinds of maturity, right? It's being physically mature, it's being mentally mature, it's being spiritually mature, it's being emotionally mature. And how do you get there? You do your healing work. You're grounded, you're centered, you have your protection up, right? You're asking for assistance. And here's a reminder. They're just giving it to me. Here's the reminder. When you're asking for assistance, when you're in that manifesting creation time, right? And you need their assistance, is to make sure that you're asking your team to help you and to provide every possible resource necessary for you to have an optimal outcome, positive outcome from your life lesson. In other words, is for them to bring you every resource necessary. And that is to cover anything financial, anything medical, anything with extra help, because maybe you need somebody to come in and help with the kids, or maybe you need somebody to come in and help with an elder. Anything that you need to be able to learn the life lesson as gracefully as possible and as optimally as possible. And that's okay to ask for whatever you need to be able to accomplish that. You still have to do the work. You still have to do that, but you can have assistance every inch along the way. And they're even saying with every breath, we can have assistance. We just have to ask for it, right? Okay. That's a pretty big card, isn't it? All right, let's see. Lisa is saying, helping me to step in my power. It feels like anything else. I can go grocery shop for others. Maybe they can find their own peace within my calmness and strength. Yes, exactly. And you said, I think that this virus is telling us that we need more compassion and to pull together. We're supposed to together as a united world. I agree. I totally agree. Hey, Kimberly's here. Hey, Kimberly, it's always good to see you in the house, lady. Rochelle says, I feel a very calm inner peace in my soul. Isn't that sweet? Thank you for sharing that, Rochelle. That's good. Angie's saying that she's grounded. Excellent. I know that card. You know why? Because when I first pulled it and I looked at it, I thought, oh, this got some energy to it, you know? But really what we're feeling is that shadow part of ourselves. It's being reflected, right? Because we all have it. Every single one of us have some sort of shadow. And really that's what we're here to learn and to master. That's why the Ascended Masters card came first. That's why that card came first. Yeah. Barbara is saying, because of the fear I have lived with all my life because of limitations, I feel people's pain. Yes, you're an empath. And when we are first learning about that gift, it can be overwhelming, especially if you don't know much about it. And there's so many empaths that isolate because it's just too much to feel so much, right? And many times they don't know enough about their gift for it to be seen or felt as a gift, right? And I think that, Barbara, you have certainly um, taken huge steps with it, right? Yeah. All right. Um, let's finish up that last card. All right, and see, where did we leave off? All right, here we go. All is not lost, but you must act if you wish to improve your circumstances. Continuing to ignore the problem will only make the situation worse. Professional assistance is required. Seek a suitable health practitioner and associated with your specific challenges. So basically, we have all kinds of help, and if you come to this conclusion for yourself that you really need some professional assistance, that's great. Then ask for your team to bring you the best assistance possible, right? Ask for the resources because that healthcare professional is a resource. And in order to have an optimal one for you, then you also have to cover other things, right? You have to be able to pay for them. You have the maybe the help at home so that you can go to the appointments, that sort of thing. Okay, so basically, this is the feeling that I get from these two cards is that the ascended masters are here to help us. We have to call on them, and then in the things that we are seeing out there and the things that we're experiencing personally in our lives through this whole situation with the virus is that, yes, it's going to bring up our shadow. It is. And it's meant to. It's meant to. Rather than looking at something being done to us, it's being done for us so that we can heal, right? So we can heal. So we can become more whole and gain all kinds of wisdom from it. That's our soul growth. And let me tell you, with as many people that's going through this, the whole world going through this, there's going to be some huge soul growth from this. It's going to be in leaps and bounds. Leaps and bounds. Yeah. Okay. So here is the affirmation for this particular card. It says, I continue to make positive choices. I feel free. I free my emotional burden. I continue to make positive choices. I free my emotional burden. So earlier, when I said that when we make our choices, those consequences, the best time is to make it when you're in a balanced state. That's the optimal time. When we're more in our logic, it has a certain kind of consequence to that. And when we're more emotional about the situation, that has other consequences to it as well. The best place to be is in that balanced state, right? And how to get there. How do you get there? Do your grounding, right? Connecting to Grandmother Earth, being in your heart as much as you can, your high heart right here. That's the balance between your mind and your soul, your heart, your emotions. So it's right here, right? Because we can all do it. We can all be in that place. And it's the same place that Angie was referring to. This is the place of unification. This is the place of the unified field, right? Yeah. It's a good place to be in. And you do feel calmer when you're there. You do feel calmer. You feel more, okay, here's a phrase, more like yourself when you're in that place. Right? Yeah. Oh my gosh, we're at the top of the hour already. This goes by so dang fast. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to show you both cards. All right. And one of the things that we've learned can you believe we've almost doing this for 2 years? I know, right? We've learned that when I show the two cards, the best thing you can do is take a big deep breath in, right? So you get yourself really present. Call to your team to come close because they're always there with you. You're just turning your attention to them and asking them to help you to take in the information that's optimal for you in the optimal way. Okay? All right. So here we go. Big deep breath in. Exhaling. Asking your team for assistance to help you bring in the information, both the seen and unseen, coming from the cards that's optimal for you. Okay? So here we go. And here we are. We started with the Ascended Masters, creating open communication, asking for help, right? In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it this way. So that the Ascended Masters are looking at our shadow self, right? There we go. That feels so much better. And as a reminder, when you're calling in those on your spiritual team from the Ascended Masters, is to ask to work with the highest frequency of their vibration. And you're asking them for help on this side. When that shadow part of yourself comes to the surface, because it will during this time frame, so that they can help you, show you what it is that you're meant to learn from it, what it is that needs to be healed, so it can be done as optimally as possible and as much grace as possible. In many ways, this is really about minding our own vibration, so that when we are applying our gifts, using our gifts, we're really shining our light. We're meant to grow from this time frame, from this experience. It's something that is being done for us, not to us, but for us. Right? I'm just amazed at the color and the image. I think the good word here would be juxtaposition. Because, you look at that soft pink of the high heart around the Ascended Masters, right? And around the other card is the temptation. That's our shadow. With the piercing eyes, very intent eyes, right? Yeah. It's quite the message today for this week. And I say this every week for us, right? Is that whatever resonated with you in the conversation, whether it was a word, a phrase, or the whole thing, it's okay. Is embrace it. Embrace it. Then watch, sense, feel, see how the energy around you is unfolding and where this information could be helpful to you, right? That's the goal. And the fact that we can have this kind of conversation, that's even better. I love it. So thank you so much for being here with me today. And if it didn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. Just let it go. Let it go. It's okay. Perhaps you're the messenger. Perhaps you're the one that will say, hey, I was listening to this show and, she was showing these cards and this is what they had to say. Here's the link. What do you think? Or maybe somebody that would enjoy this kind of conversation, has been looking for it, right? And you can share it with them. And then you're all done. So, need to drink water. So, I so much enjoy our times together. Really, I do. I was just thinking about my show that's coming up next week for Communications from Home. It was just last night, and I forgot to mention something to you guys, is that my show next week that's coming up on Tuesday, next week Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, that's Communications from Home. It's my weekly evening show. I have a special guest that's coming up. Yeah, you guys kind of know her. Her name's Violet Colby. Violet's going to be my guest. Violet and I are working together on a project, and I wanted her to come and share with us about her products. Did you know that she has created a line of herbal organics? And I've been sampling them. And let me tell you, we're going to be talking about a few of them. I love them. The body butter is holy smokes. and she's going to be doing a giveaway. So she's going to be doing some giveaway of the product that she has, and I'm going to be giving away some of the product that we have, which is the magazine, and also some upcoming classes that are going to be taught, online classes that you guys will have an opportunity to be a part of. So join me for that next week, Tuesday night, okay? And come here to help support Violet in her new adventure. Yeah. And you know what? The comments in the studio stopped, but I've got my phone. So I'm going to see what you guys are talking about before we say adios. Okay. All right. So Barbara was saying, I have survived a trauma of polio. I see the panic. What can I do to help? What can you do to help? That's a good question. Asking your team, make sure you're grounded. Ask your team, right? What is this in here for me? And from my point of view, Barbara, is that you're a good listener. You and I were talking the other day, and the fact that you have this kind of experience, start a conversation. Be in the conversation, much like you're doing here. And when you can share some insight, that's when you share it. Don't be in the closet anymore, in that spiritual closet. Come on out. Rochelle says everything is going to be okay. I agree. Andrew says very powerful and fitting cards. They are too. I totally agree, Andrew. Lisa is saying there has been so much negativity exposed in the past 10 years. This is a purification period. Upon the air comes a virus, so the fire can burn it away, and earth will transmute negative into positive, with the water element cleansing and a ceremony of baptism-like feeling. Yes. Nothing happens by coincidence. All those fires that happened in Australia. Do you remember those? All the wildfires that happened out in the West, here at the United States. Do you remember those? Everything is interconnected. Everything is. And they're all here to help us, to give us these opportunities to learn, to change, right? To master. Kimberly is saying, what's coming through is to embrace both our light and shadow side. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that we have so much help. We're not in this all by ourselves. Stephanie is saying, thank you. You're welcome. A couple more people joined us too. So with that, thank you for joining me and for the Spiritual Roundtable. We'll be back here again next week on Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. with the weekly card draw for everybody, right? I draw the cards in the morning and we get to have this conversation together. On Sunday is the Spiritual Roundtable Dream Interpretation portion of the show, and that's held in the private group for the live stream shows. If you're not a part of that group, you can always ask to be in the group, and we'll get you set up for that. Okay. And tonight is Polly Jo LeBay and Soul Connections. It's an evening of healing and divine messages. If you're working on something, if something has come up and you're working on healing an aspect, tonight would be a good night to join Polly Jo. They create the sacred space for that, hold that container for us so that we have our individual intentions with our spiritual teams, and she and her team are there to assist us. So if you're working on something, it's a very powerful evening to be a part of. And then the second half of the show is all about a card draw. If you enjoy having a mini reading through tarot cards, join us for that. Okay. On Thursday night is Polly Jo's weekly show about chakra sessions. And so she is going to be helping us with, and I can't remember what it is. So many things going on this week. But that is on at 7 p.m., both shows, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Okay? Tonight and tomorrow night. There we go. Yay. So thank you so much. And we'll see you back here next Wednesday for the Spiritual Roundtable. I'm Neshi Lokotz. I've been your host, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bama Mina. That's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. Love you guys.